Do professional photographers really do that all the time? Let's talk about it. Hey, welcome to another video. Sorry for my regular viewers might notice a little bit of delay in me putting out this video. As some of you know, I recently went to Iceland. When I got back, I picked up a bug somewheres. I have my suspicions as to where, but so I've been kind of down and out for about the last 2-3 weeks, hacking up a lung. So I'm going to try and get through this video without hacking up the other part of my lung, so kind of bear with me. But because of it, I've been watching a little bit more YouTube videos than I normally would, just because I've had the time of having to keep my feet up. And I've noticed a trend of people saying, this is what all professional photographers do, or this is the aperture that you should use, or pro photographers don't shoot in manual. Or I think part of it is, honestly, there's so much content on YouTube that sometimes people don't know what to say anymore. It's so oversaturated that you get these types of videos. And I don't think it's because people think they're offering bad advice. I'm sure they're trying to offer you what they think is good advice, the same way I am here. I'd like to think I offer good advice. But you have to watch these videos in the light of who's offering the advice. And here's what I mean by that. It seems that mostly the landscape photographers are the ones who will tell you, well, I always shoot in aperture mode. Or for the most part, us pro photographers, we use aperture mode. Well, they're landscape photographers. And so aperture mode would be more suited for them. If you're a sports photographer, you're probably not going to shoot in aperture mode. Maybe you will at times when athletes are coming in and out of the dugout or the tunnel or whatever, but ordinarily your shutter is going to be more important than your aperture. Just my opinion. For me, you kind of have to listen as to who's giving the advice and why they're giving it, and then work through it yourself and decide, is that good for me or not? And that holds true even if you're not a professional photographer. And I don't know that anybody's really defined what a professional photographer is, but in my mind, it would be someone who derives more than 50% of their income from photography. And I realize that there are people on YouTube that consider themselves professional photographers that have other jobs, and that's fine. Here again, that's just an opinion thing, and that's off topic. You know, I don't personally consider myself a professional photographer. I think that I have some images that look professional, and again, I don't want to get all off on to that. That's a whole nother topic. But I just want to point out to you that especially if you're new to photography, you have to pay attention to who's offering the advice, and maybe even as to why they're offering it. And then decide for yourself whether that advice is good for you or not. Now, the second thing of what I wanted to talk about in this video was, do you have to be a professional photographer to take images that look professional? That's a silly question, because the answer is of course not. Anyone can take a great image. Anyone can take an iconic image. So what is a great image? What elements make up a great image? So let's talk about that briefly. The first thing is you need light. And some people might say, well, you need golden hour light, or you need blue hour light. Well, it helps, yeah, if you're a landscape photographer. Not necessarily if you're a sports photographer. So light is light. Black and white photographers might prefer harsh light because they might want the shadows. Same with street photographers. They might like harsh light. They might not. They might like the light that's kind of soft before the light comes up, before the sun comes up. beyond the skyline, beyond the buildings. So it all depends. So light could be a different thing from you to you than it is to me. But you need light. The other thing you need, which some people might consider the most important, is a good composition. And this is one area where you can go to YouTube and find a lot of videos on composition. Composition can be a lot of things. You could have leading lines. You could have, is the horizon 1/3 the way up? Is the horizon 2/3 the way up? Do you look for shapes and triangles? There's a lot of things that can go into composition. But you normally, if not always, you have to have good composition to have a good image. So you have light, you have composition, you have to have a subject, no matter what that subject is. It could be a white building off in the distance across a dreary, cloudy day. It could be someone playing sports. It could be a bride and groom kissing for the first time after they're saying their vows. It could be their wedding rings. It could be a bug on a flower in your backyard. It could be, for a street photographer, it could be some stranger walking past them. It could be the street sign in street photography. It could be so many things, but that's the beauty of photography, is you can pick your own subjects and you can pick what you like to photograph, but you still need a subject. And typically in that strong image, as soon as people look at the photograph, they're going to know what the subject is, or they should. So you have light, you have composition, you have a subject. You have to have some emotional impact to the image. And it could just be the photographer who has the emotional impact, because maybe that's all the photographer cares about. Maybe they don't care if the viewer has that impact. I know for me, going to Iceland, there were a few subjects that I wanted to photograph. And so for me, just standing in front of those things that I've seen for years on other people's photos and videos and books, to be standing in front of them, like I did at Kirkefell and Kirkefoss, and in front of the Black Church, the Buddha Kirke, or some of the glaciers down at the south end, or the church in Vik. When I saw all of those things in person for the first time, they all had an emotional impact on me. I was like, wow, how do I photograph this? And I was photographing them more for me, with the hope that maybe someone else could appreciate it. And I'm going to give you one little inside secret. If you go and you look at my images, if you go back and you look at the video where I did of Iceland, where I showed the photos. Matter of fact, I'll throw it up right here so you can see it. You don't even have to go look at the video. The Black Church at Budir, the Buddha Kirke. Most people wouldn't realize this, but I took that image from the other side. Meaning most people, if you were ever there and you were to see it, they're actually standing in the graveyard, which is on the other side of the church. There's a big stone wall that you can see in front of the church, even in my photo. Almost everyone takes it from the graveyard and has the mountains in the background. I took it from the opposite side. I took it from the road that comes up towards the church, and I don't have that mountain in the background because I wanted to put my own stamp on it. I wanted it to be the same iconic place, but to me, I wanted it to be special for me. I wanted that emotional connection for me to do something that people that recognize photos from Iceland will automatically recognize the Black Church. But they might not pick up on the fact that I photographed it from the opposite side that most people normally do. And so that was the emotional impact for me. So we have light, we have composition, we have a subject, we have an emotional impact, and lastly, you have a moment in time. Well, you can look at that photo of the black church. That could have been taken 20, 30 years ago. It could probably be taken 5 years from now. And if you were standing in that same spot in the same time of year, so that the grass in front was still brown rather than probably gets green later in the summer, you could still get those colors in black and white. And to me, I think that a timeless image, a lot of times it's difficult to tell when that moment in time was. And sometimes you can tell by, if it's a subject, what clothing they're wearing. Maybe the skyline has changed. If you were to take a photo of New York City before 9/11, the skyline has changed, right? Unfortunately, but it's true. So sometimes you can tell about when that photograph was taken, but not always. I believe that, and this is one bit of advice you'll hear all over YouTube, and I'll leave you with this, because I think that this is the best bit of advice anyone can give you. It's fine to go and watch people's videos. It's fine to go and look at other people's images. All those things are going to teach you something. But the only way to really make that connection and to learn how to put all those elements together so that you can create a good image is to go out and use your camera. Learn your camera, learn your lenses, and shoot. And some of those things, like where's the light coming from? What kind of light do I need to take the image that I want? What kind of subjects do I like to photograph? How do I arrange this composition? What does it say to me? Why am I taking that photo? And maybe this photo only looks good in January. Or maybe it only looks good in August, or whatever. Or maybe I'm a street photographer and there's someone sitting across the street and they have pink hair or whatever. And they probably won't be here tomorrow. So therefore that moment in time is now, because I'm not going to see them again. More than likely, especially not sitting on that bench at this particular time of day with the weather and the lighting being such, it's never going to happen again. That's your moment in time. But you have to know your camera, you have to know your lens to be able to capture it when it presents itself in front of you. And the more you go out and use your camera, the easier it's going to be a second nature to you to understand how all those elements come together. Are you ever going to master them? I don't know. I don't think I ever will. I think I improve on them, and over time I've gotten better. I think my photography has gotten better. But am I ever truly going to be a master of all of them? You know, in a way, I hope not. Because I never really want to stop learning this craft of photography. So I appreciate you sitting through this. Before you wander off, please subscribe, and if you can, please like. But I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers at the time of this. I'm teetering around 900. I was at 902, now I'm at 901. For a while I was at 899, then 896, 897, 899, 897, 899, 900, 902, 901. So I'm trying to get to 1,000. So I sure appreciate if you're new here. Plus, go look at some of my other videos. You know, you might learn something. You might leave a comment and say, your advice is awful. Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, take good care.